Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm. As always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon routine. Today is Monday, and we are going to be looking, as we do every Monday, at the Constitution of the Bahamas. This is actually the first Monday in the month of February. And so I think what I will do at the first Monday of every month is I will play the video about the Constitution Made Simple for those of you who are new around here and may not be familiar with the role of the Constitution, just to bring you up to speed before we dive into the conversation with Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson, who is our resident guide and will be teaching us all that there is to need to know, or you need to know with regard to the Constitution of the Bahamas. But before we dive in, let me tell you how you can be a part of the conversation. The telephone numbers to call are 326-0271. That's 326-0271, 326-0272, 326-0272, and the WhatsApp line for messages and calls is 801-0271. That's 801-0271. We are streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. Please like and share the show. Also coming to you on rumble.com. That's rumble.com. Look for Global Paradigm Shift, all one word, no spaces in between. We are on Cable Bahamas, channel 974, and we are also available through the Global 99.5 FM app. You can go ahead and download that to your smart device and take us with you 24/7. Last but not least, welcome to all of you who are tuned in by way of radio, whether it is here in New Providence, Grand Bahama, throughout the country, or around the world. A huge welcome to you all, and thank you for tuning in to GPS. So, before I bring Professor Thompson onto the stage, let's just go ahead and, for the sake of you guys who may be new to the show, play this clip on the Constitution Made Simple to give you a better idea of how a constitution works.
Okay, so before we talk about what a constitution is, let's first explain why we need one. let's start by looking at the fundamental things we all need as human beings. These are a voice in the decisions that affect our lives, material well-being such as food, shelter and education, security and protection from violence or discrimination, and recognition and respect as individuals and communities. To help meet these needs, people create governments and delegate powers to them to exercise for the common good of society. The problem, though, is that while governments need powers to perform their functions, history tells us again and again that power without limits can lead to corruption, dictatorship, and oppression. Free, fair, and regular elections might help ensure good government. They allow people to select who they want in power and over time to vote out those who perform badly. But we also need some basic rules to control how that power is used, so that those who win elections still have to respect your rights and promote your interests, rather than using power for their own benefit. Just as in a game of football, there have to be rules and a referee. So in a democracy, there must be rules by which all the players are bound. These rules are provided in a constitution. The constitution is a law, but it's not just an ordinary law. A constitution is a supreme law that establishes, organizes, and empowers the government and determines how other laws are made and implemented. It is also more difficult to change than ordinary laws, so that those in power cannot make up the rules as they go along. Football wouldn't be fair if the winning team could change the rules, and democracy isn't fair if those in power can just change the constitution according to their own whim. The constitution harnesses the energy and power of the state, ensuring that the people control the reins. This explains why when people are trying to establish a new, fairer society, one of the first things they do is write a new constitution. This is what Norway did in 1814, India in 1950, South Africa in 1996, and Colombia in 1991. Indeed, nearly all countries in the world have a constitution to establish rules for using power. On the other hand, we've seen that when a democratic government is illegally overthrown, one of the first things the coup leaders do is set their sights on destroying the constitution. They don't want any inconvenient limits on their ability to rule by force. So the constitution both organizes and constrains power. Now, how does it do that? Well, there are several ways. One way is to divide power between different political institutions. For example, sharing functions between a president and a prime minister, or between two houses of a legislature, or between different levels of government, the national level, the regional, state or provincial level, and the local level. A constitution defines the powers of these institutions and regulates the relationship between them. It also ensures that power is rotated. One year we may vote for one candidate or party, but after a few years, their time will be up, and we will have the chance to choose someone else. This means that no one person, party, or institution can accumulate too much power or stay in power too long. It is important to maintain a strict separation between the political institutions on the one hand, such as the elected parliament and government, and on the other hand, the permanent neutral institutions of the state, such as the courts, the military, the police, and the civil service. Constitutions also constrain power by saying what governments must and must not do. For example, a set of constitutional rights may specify that you can't be tortured, that you can't be imprisoned without due cause, and that your freedom of expression can't be infringed. Other provisions may direct the government to provide for basic human needs, such as education, healthcare, sanitation, or housing. Constitutions don't only protect the majority, There may be special provisions for minorities and marginalized groups for their security, their participation in government, and protections for their identity and culture. Most constitutions also have a nation-building function. They seek to embody national unity and to reflect and declare the identity of the nation and its people. The Constitution announces to citizens, to the government itself, and to the outside world what the nation is, what it stands for, where it has come from, and what its vision for the future might be. A good constitution is just one step along the road to a peaceful, prosperous, and democratic society, but it is a fundamental one. By setting down the rules by which the state should be governed, a good constitution helps to ensure that the democratic aspirations of a people become and remain a reality.
All right. So for those of you who are new around here, now you have a better understanding of the importance of your Constitution. And at this moment, I'd like to bring in onto the stage our resident professor, our resident guide, Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson, who each week takes his time out to come and spread some knowledge, give us some information to help us to better understand what is the supreme law of the land. Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson, it's good to see your face today. How you doing?
Well, thank you very much. I'm doing quite well. I'm much better than last week.
Wonderful,
I was
wonderful.
not in the studio, but it's good to be here again. And the Constitution is a very interesting document. I listened to what the tape had said, and a lot was said in that tape, and I think the Bahamian people ought to make note of that. We need to know our Constitution, and those who are responsible for running our national affairs, we have to keep tabs on them, sure that they are operating in accordance with the Constitution, and if they are not, then we ought to tell them. We ought to correct them. You're not going to be able to correct them if you don't know the Constitution. You're going to find that you will be in difficulty, you're in difficulty, the people in difficulty, the country is in difficulty, the government is in difficulty, because no one is standing up and saying what ought to be. We have too many problems in this country, and we have a constitution that gives us the answers to those problems. A lot of people don't even understand that. It tells us the kinds of people we ought to be, how we ought to be governed. And that's why in the tape that you played, a government cannot constitutionally act and do as it pleases. And if it does, then you need to correct that government. Because some will try that, you know. You will find that when people take over a country, the first thing they do is dispense with the Constitution at that particular time, and they set up their own rules. We have had stability in this country from 1729 right on up to now. That is the transition from one administration to the next. And Bahamians, we cannot afford to lose that at this particular time, even though we have some very serious, very, very serious issues that need to be dealt with. Our mothers and fathers of the past didn't come across them, but they sure gave us a very strong foundation on which to build. That's what we have, the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And Bahamians, we need to take it very, very seriously, because they are those who are in our midst, who are trying their very best to undermine the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We must not let them do that. We must not let any group or entity or person or whatever to mislead us and deceive us into thinking the Constitution is just a piece of paper someone told me some time ago. I hope that individual doesn't think like that now. We have too many problems, too many challenges to be playing games in 2024. So we need to get it right.
Mhm. All right. So we left off last week, I believe, at Article 18, was it?
We were
And
on
then
18.
yeah, we just started Article 18.
Yes.
And we had to, when the show came to a close last week. So let me bring our audience up to speed as to what Article 18 says. Now, for the record, Article 18 appears under Chapter 3 of the Constitution, which deals with the protection of fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual. And so Article 18:1 says no person shall be held in slavery or servitude. And Article 18:2 says no person shall be required to perform forced labor. And then it goes on in Article 3 to describe what forced labor does not include.
Yes.
Now, I think we covered 1 and 2 last week, eh?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So
Yes,
if we pick up
we could
okay,
pick up
so if we pick up at 18:3, it says,
Yes.
for the purpose of this article, forced labor does not include any labor required in consequence of the sentence of order or order of a court. And again, any labor required in consequence of the sentence or order of a court. That seems pretty straightforward, but I'll still let you go ahead and explain what that means, Professor.
Yes, because a person could be sentenced by a court, a lawfully constituted court, and of course that person would be in detention, would be detained, and would be required to do some work. That's labor, that's what work means. And the person ought to do it. They are compelled by law to do so. Now, that would not be considered forced labor because you are in detention, you're under the sentence of a court, and you are required to do some very specific things. So this is what they're saying, that in certain circumstances and cases, a situation like that where a court makes an order or an order has been given by the authorities in relation to that particular person, that individual will not be considered to be in servitude or forced labor or slavery for that matter. And so we have to understand that there are always certain exceptions, particularly when it comes to the individual rights and freedoms of the person. They are accepted. And of course, you have to look at the rights of the community, the rights of the majority of the people in relation to the rights of that particular person or that particular community or whatever the case may be. In this case, speaking about the freedom of the individual person in relation to the community.
Okay. So that is pretty straightforward. So in other words, if you go before the court, you're found guilty, they lock you up, and then they put you on hard labor, you can't protest and say, my constitutional rights say I don't have to do this.
No.
Yeah, you better do what the people tell you to do.
No, you are compelled.
Yes.
You're compelled to perform because you are under detention. Now,
Right.
if you don't want that, then of course you could have your freedom by behaving yourself. And that is why it's important that people understand that there are certain limits to the individual rights and freedoms of the individual. You just don't have any and everything, or you can say and do any and everything. No. It is subject to the rights of others. And you'll find in other portions of the Constitution mentions that. Subject to. And in this particular case, since you are in detention, you're going to be required to do certain things. You may not necessarily like it, but you will be required to do it. That's not considered to be forced labor because you are under detention, you're in custody, and if you want your freedom, then you ought to know how to behave. Because there will be some who will say, no, I won't do that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. No, no, no. Not in this particular situation. Under a court order or you in detention.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's move on. So that's 18.
18.3.
Yeah, 18.3a. Now let's look at 18.3b.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
again, these are things that it does not include when it's talking about forced labor.
Forced labor.
So
Forced labor.
18.3b says any labor required of a member of a disciplined force in pursuance of his duties as such, or in the case of a person who has conscientious objections to service in a naval, military, or air force, any labor which that person is required by law to perform in place of such service.
You would have certain persons, and I'm glad they have it put like that. Person may be in the discipline force, like the police force, the defense force. We had a situation recently, right here in our own country, dealing with this particular aspect of the Constitution. The person had certain objections, conscientious objections. And I think the person won that particular case. Now, those are unusual circumstances. That doesn't happen every day. One could be a part of a Navy, one could be a part of the Air Force, one could be a part of the Defense Force or the police force. And I think in this particular case, it was based on religious grounds because the Constitution allows for freedom of religion, person to have his faith. And that cannot be violated in any manner, shape, or form. And so the thing is that matters like that have to be considered when dealing with people because they are of different faiths. This one believes this, that one believes that. And the Constitution says you have a right to your religious freedom. Some people don't work on Saturday. Some people may not work on Friday. Some people may not work on Sunday. They have that right under conscientious objections that they may have, or there may be some other matter that they may object to, which would be within their constitutional rights, freedoms, and privilege. They cannot be forced to do a particular thing. So this is where, the Constitution is trying to be fair to everybody, the person who has those conscientious objections, and also to the wider community. Because remember now, you must remember, the rights of the majority has to be considered, and the rights of the minority have to be considered. And I think sometimes we get all mixed up and all confused and all flustered because we don't understand that there has to be a balance as to what ought to be done. And in this particular case, this has to deal with the individual. It could be a group of persons in a particular situation. But I must say very clearly, and I want to make this plain to the Bahamian people, the individual rights of the person cannot supersede the rights of the majority. You must always remember that. It is subject to the wider community, the rights of the majority of the people.
Okay, that's fair enough.
You go ahead, Ms. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that clear because you did mention a point where the fellow might think, well, I want my constitutional rights. He has his constitutional rights as long as it is constitutionally sound.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have people a lot of shooting their mouth off, saying things, and they don't, like someone told me yesterday, and I just backed off from the particular personality because I know the person was talking crap and do not understand the Constitution. So I just said, have a nice day. Thank you very much. And I left it at that. Because some people just don't know, and they're just not. I'm going to use it this way: they're not knowledgeable about the Constitution. They ain't any knowledgeable about statute law, much less constitutional law, which is even more complex. And you will see how the wording is in these articles. It is not easy for the average person to understand. That's why we have to take it piece by piece, as we're doing right now, to explain in simple, basic, fundamental language. So that woman in Baintown who got them 5 boys, the man in Foxville who got those 6 girls, he tells me he's trying to find husbands for them. He wasn't successful yet, but he's still working on it. They have to understand what this document is all about, because we would be wasting our time on Mondays if we just rush these things and leave the average individual defenseless. Because the vast majority of our people have no knowledge or understanding of the Constitution, some 95% plus. So we have to, every time I go to the Constitution, I got to think about that in the back of my mind, that I have to be as simple and clear as I possibly can for the masses of the people in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, so they can understand.
So what you need to do, Professor, is you're always talking about the woman in Baintown and the man in Foxville. You need to introduce to them so they could marry each other.
Yes, I always refer to them, because, that is what the average person is like. I've not mentioned the woman in Baintown, the man in Foxville.
Yeah, but you need to be a matchmaker and hook them up. Anyway, let me.
Yeah, I can see if I could do that, but it's kind of difficult though, particularly for the girls, because they got some challenges with the males, and me working on that.
I hear that.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, we got to take a break. When we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to continue this conversation with Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson, as we look at the Constitution of the Bahamas, line by line, article by article, to give you a better understanding of your rights and responsibilities contained therein. We'll be back after these words of our sponsors.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Weston, Lux, Fuel, Trackline, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses,
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun. Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here on this Masterclass Monday, along with Professor Sidney McCarthy Thompson, as we look at the Constitution of the Bahamas. If you have a question or a comment for the professor, here's how you can reach him: 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line for messages and calls is 8010271. That's 8010271. We're streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. Please like and share the show. Also coming to you live on rumble.com. Look for Global Paradigm Shift, all one word, no space in between. We are on Cable Bahamas, channel 974, and you can also catch us on the Global 99.5 FM app, which you can download to your smart device. Last but not least, welcome to all of you who are tuned in by way of radio, whether it is from here in New Providence, Grand Bahama, across the country, or around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson, and I as we look at the Constitution of the Bahamas. Okay, so to bring you up to speed, in case you're just tuning in, we are on Article 18.3, and now we're going to turn our attention to 18.3C, because we've covered 18.3A and 18.3B. So 18.3, Article 18.3C of the Constitution says, remember now we're talking about what forced labor does not include.
Not include, yes.
So Article 18.3C says, labor required of any person while he is lawfully detained, which, though not required in consequence of the sentence or order of a court, is reasonably necessary in the interest of hygiene or for the maintenance of the place in which he is detained. Please explain.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. The place where he's being detained would have to be taken care of. And he may be called upon to assist, along with others who may be detained there, for hygiene purposes, for maintenance purposes, as the case may be. He cannot just be allowed to just sit around and do nothing, all right? That's why it's mentioned hygienic purposes or maintenance purposes, he may be called upon to perform. That would not be considered forced labor because the place has to be kept clean and he may be required to assist.
So let me ask you a question. What constitutes, how can you be detained without court order? Is that something like, say, the detention center that deals with illegal immigrants? Explain how a person could be detained without a court order and it be legal.
Well, the thing is that a person could be detained without a court order, which is true. A person could be arrested. Say, for example, with illegal aliens who come into the country, they have to be put in the detention center, and the court may not specifically say that they should be doing a particular task. But by them being there in that particular area, they may be called upon to assist, maybe in the event of an emergency or some other situation may arise, where the person is being detained, called upon to assist for his own protection and for the protection of others. The interest, Constitution talks about interests. And sometimes people need to understand that. We cannot just be selfish by ourselves, of course, but in his own interest and the interest of others who may be in that place where he's being detained. So he may be called upon to assist and perform for hygienic purposes or maintenance purposes, as the Constitution specifically says.
That's interesting. So in other words,
it is interesting because, see, the thing is that I believe that sometimes people get a wrong understanding when it comes to freedoms, rights, privileges, etc.
Mm-hmm.
In certain cases where a person is being detained, certain rights would be curtailed. Just as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be free to do an act as you please, behave yourself and stay in your own place. But even while you are in your own place, there are certain rights and freedoms that could be restricted. There may be an emergency situation that may occur in a given community, and you may have to be detained or restricted in one way or the other. And so, if you don't want to be caught in a situation where you're detained by a court or happen to be locked up and you'll be called upon to do a particular thing, then you should conduct yourself accordingly. Because remember now that your rights as a citizen or an individual, because you don't have to be a citizen to have these rights. It says any person. We have to remember that. These rights apply to any person in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. But those rights could be restricted because of certain circumstances that may develop with you or in the area where you're being maintained.
Okay.
And so a judgment, see, the Constitution talks about reasonably justifiable. You see that right in this article. So a determination or a decision has to be made by those who are responsible. So you just can't tie their hand and say, the fellow has all these rights, all these freedoms, and he's behaving in a way that is not in his best interest, neither the interest of those who are detained with him. So there has to be law and order, and things have to be, as the Constitution would put it, reasonably justifiable. And those in authority would have to be responsible for that at that particular time. Is it reasonable? Is it justifiable? That's what has to be considered in particular situations like this.
Okay, interesting. All right, so in other words, you ain't going there to lay up in no hotel. You might have
No.
pitch in. Yeah. Okay.
You got to pitch in and be able to make your contribution. And I think it's fair. It is fair for all persons concerned. You can't just have the fellow just laying around and he don't want to do this, he don't want to do that. In a situation like that, it requires the cooperation of people. You're dealing with human beings. And there has to be certain rules and regulations that have to be carried out. And that's just the way it is. So let me get back to the main point that I want the Bahamian people to understand. Just because the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas says you have certain freedoms, rights, and privileges, those rights and privileges that you have could be curtailed, And particularly in cases where a person is detained, yes, they could be curtailed. Yes, they could be curtailed even while you are free in your own community. Some emergency or situation could arise where it is important that action has to be taken to safeguards the interests of not only yourself, but that community as a whole. So people need to understand that. So you do not have, as an individual, just anything you could do. That's my right, that's my privilege. And it doesn't matter what other people think or say, even to the detriment of others. That doesn't make any sense at all. The Constitution doesn't support that.
Okay. All right.
You're right. Let me just make this last point.
Okay.
The right of the individual citizen or person, because you don't have to be a citizen to have these rights, is subject to the rights of the majority of the people in that particular area.
Okay.
I think people need to understand that.
Okay. I want to read a comment or a question actually, from one of our
Yes.
Facebook viewers. So Backfoot is asking the question. Good afternoon, Ms. Malcolm and your guests. I have a question for your guest. El Salvador has suspended all civil liberties and constitutional rights for gang members and placed them in prison. The citizens rejoice and express their gratitude that their new president has found a way to combat violence and crime. Could our government do the same to stop crime?
That's an interesting question that you ask. There's an article, emergency Article 29 of the Constitution, which speaks to certain emergency powers being exercised. I think we're going to get to that in this same article. We could look at it and see what it says.
Mm.
The government, and let me make this very clear. You heard what the clip said, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the government, whoever is in authority, doesn't have the liberty to violate constitutional rights.
Right.
They never did. That's why you have a constitution, and the Bahamian people need to understand this very clearly. Because I heard some people saying some things, and I said, these people don't know what they're even asking. Some people asking for martial law, others asking for certain other things, and they don't understand how dangerous that is. If you give a government or an administration in power such kind of authority, you might regret that. The point is, there is Article 29, which we're going to briefly go to, because we're going to see that in this particular section. We talk about forced labor and all of that. You do not want the government of the Bahamas to do some things that would be detrimental to the national interest of the Bahamian people. That's very dangerous. You just ask the people in Sudan and see the kind of state they're in today. Look at the people in Haiti. See what state they're in today. You don't want the Bahamas to be like that. We don't have to let that happen. We in these communities have to talk some sense to some of these people who are acting in a manner that is not in the best interests of the people in that particular community. But some of us just sit back and just let things happen. So we have to help the government of the Bahamas. That's what we're supposed to be doing, to make sure we don't get to that point, because I don't want to see that happen. And I will do all in my power to make sure it doesn't happen. Because when a government starts moving in that direction, you don't know what may happen.
Mm.
Suspension of constitutional rights, that's a very dangerous thing. Now, under the emergency powers, that's a different kettle of fish. You are restricted, all right? But not where a government can carte blanche put things in place because they want to catch some criminals or some fellas out there being bad. Why should I, as a law-abiding citizen, have to suffer because you got a couple of fellas out there acting contrary to law? Deal with them. And it is possible for the authorities to deal with the lawbreakers to protect the interests of those who are law-abiding.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't come up and say, well, we got to interfere with your constitutional rights to deal with them. No, sir. That's a bad move if we would let that happen. Deal with the lawbreakers.
All
We
right.
can identify who they are, and we can go forward. Let me stop
Okay.
right there so you can go.
All right. Let's look at 18D.
18D, yes.
18.3D. Okay. And again, we're talking about what is not included
Forced
in
labor.
forced labor, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So 18.3D says any labor required during a period, this is what you were talking about, any labor required during a period of public emergency, that is to say, a period to which Article 29 of this Constitution applies, or in the event of any other emergency or calamity that threatens the life or well-being of the community, to that extent that the requiring of such labor is reasonably justifiable in the circumstances of any situation arising or existing during that period, or as a result that other emergency or calamity for the purpose of dealing with that situation.
Now, Ms. Malcolm, we got to start right to break that down.
Break it down.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Tell me when to stop.
No, well, let's go back right at the beginning again, and then I'll tell you when to stop. Because let me say that. See, the way how the language is written, it could be very difficult for the average person to understand. But this is how they wrote it, so we got to work with it the way they
So we'll break it up. We'll break it up because this is a long paragraph.
Break it up.
Okay, so this is the first part. It says any labor required during a period of public emergency, that is to say, a period to which Article 29 of this Constitution applies, or in the event of any other emergency or calamity that threatens the life or well-being of the community. Let's stop there.
Okay, let's stop right there. Yeah. Now we're going to look a little at Article 29.
Okay, let me go down to that.
Yeah, because see, the thing is, you can have a calamity or an emergency that could arise in a given community that may not necessarily require Article 29 to be applied. But let's look at Article 29 briefly, and
I'm going there right now. Now, Article 29 is pretty long. Okay.
Yeah. No, we won't go through all of it, but just the top part of it.
Okay. 29.1. This article applies to any period when A, the Bahamas is at war, or B, there is in force a proclamation in this section referred to as a proclamation of emergency made by the Governor General and published in the Gazette declaring that a state of public emergency exists for the purposes of this section.
Okay, stop right there. You ain't got to go no further than that. One, the Bahamas is at war. Two, a state of emergency. Now, of course, it will be declared by the Governor General. All right? We don't have any problem with it.
But the Governor General takes instructions from the Prime Minister, correct?
Yeah, that's true. You know that.
Okay, then. I gone somewhere with that question, but you go ahead.
But the thing is that it says about other emergency that could arise. It may be something that might be needed right there and then, and the authorities have to take appropriate action. It may not require a state of emergency, and people got to understand these things.
See,
when there is a state of emergency, that's a serious issue.
Yeah, I want you to stick a pin in that because we do have a call, and I don't want to lose the call.
Okay.
But I just want to say this, right? And we have to definitely come back to this, because my next question will be, who determines what is a state of emergency? And the reason I ask that is because I remember one fellow who called himself the competent authority, right?
Yes.
And the competent authority held on to that position long beyond what it was necessary, in my opinion, and the opinion of others. The reason the competent authority held on to that position for so long was not to do with any kind of pandemic, but more to do with desire to control, to stay in control, to manipulate the political system to remain in control. But that's neither here nor there. But the competent authority within himself determined what was considered an emergency to extend those powers. So I want you to think about that, but we got to take this call.
No, I'm going to comment on that. Yes, I'm glad you brought it up.
Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm so glad you hit the nail right on the head. That was what I was going to say. We suffered a misapplication of Article 29 when we were told we couldn't go to the beach. The healing salt waters of the Bahamas were denied to the Bahamian people when the incompetent authority decided that due to his COVID emergency powers, he could prevent us from going to the beach. Remember that? It was also against the law to go to the pump between certain hours. And thank God for former, I think she was Chief Justice or some high-ranking legal authority, Dame Sawyer. She said that what was being done was unconstitutional. But there wasn't one lawyer in the country at the time prepared to defend the rights of Bahamians. So I appreciate what Professor is saying about how careful we have to be with emergency powers. And Ms. Malcolm, the thing I wanted to say about all of this crime, because I got a report out of Grand Bahama this morning that one of the young men, he was shot several weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. He died this morning. The row that ended his life was about $5. And so we're not a stupid people. We're not ignorant. We're not particularly dangerous to each other. But when you have certain economics, I remember there was another cause of death listed as a fight over a pork chop. These are not typical Bahamian behaviors. So I suspect that the answer out of this terrible situation has everything to do with the economics. And there are so many things that we could be doing on the island of Grand Bahama that would give young people an opportunity to relocate, buy affordable land. They have lots there for $5,000. You get it for $2,500 if you catch the person on the right Friday and you need the money. And there are all kinds of possibilities of investments that could be brought to the country to give young people a chance. But it won't happen if the people we have elected have decided that this is a party for them to put on an Armani suit. Who cares about your Armani suit with your ugly self? But anyhow, let me talk straight. There are things that we could be doing to fix the economy for young people so they could move, get a house, get a wife, have children, have a life, and not die on the side of the road like dogs. This is not the Bahamian way. Thank you so much, George.
Thank you for calling. I don't want us to lose track of what we're talking about, but let me just say for the record, since you brought it up, I was invited to attend a conclave today by the Ministry of Labor and Public Service, talking about the reimagination of the Department of Labor taking form. And one of the things that they spoke about quite extensively, which the Minister of Labor has been speaking to, is the establishment of a national apprenticeship program. And it sounds very, very promising. That will probably answer some of the questions that you are raising today. So, but again, I don't want us to lose focus and get off track from what we're talking about today. But thank you so much for calling. But yes, this emergency situation, who has the right to determine what is an emergency and what is not, and based on what? Because I'm of the opinion that, like she said, was abused. And all of our legal minds and everybody stood by. And I don't know if they was just scared of COVID, why they decided not to challenge, but that privilege was significantly abused. And now that we hear all of the truth coming out with all of these hearings before the U.S. Congress about what was scientific and what was not, we know much of the foolishness what they had us doing had no scientific base whatsoever. Some idiots sit up in a room and say, hey, let's say this. Okay, let's go with that. I said, that's what they had. That's what they shut down the whole world for. You know what I mean? And so who determines, who can decide what is an emergency and what is not to get to the point where they could restrict people's constitutional rights? How's that decided?
Let me put it this way. The unfortunate thing about us as Bahamians is we did not challenge. No one took it upon themselves, or a group of individuals who were supposed to be legally trained and qualified in law.
I mean, in all fairness, hardly anybody anywhere in the world challenged. Everybody just is following like a bunch of sheep, listening to foolishness to these, and then those who did speak out, they vilified them. You know what I mean? But anyhow, go ahead, finish your point.
That is always a problem that you're going to have. You're going to find that in a given situation, there will be people who will complain privately, but they will not be prepared to challenge the authorities on what they are doing. That is a major weakness we have in our country. So therefore, let me speak to the office of Prime Minister, because some people don't understand that office. That office is like a gigantic octopus that spreads its tentacles into every single facet of Bahamian life. It is a very powerful office. And even though we're supposed to have what is called collective responsibility with the cabinet, because it says the cabinet has overall direction and control of the government, we're finding that it was really the particular personality in that office who took over and had the overall direction and control, even though it's not constitutional, but it was done. And no one stood up to say, Mr. Prime Minister, you're not doing what the Constitution says. You are unconstitutional in your behavior. Until such time as we have people who are prepared to stand up and tell the government of the Bahamas of its failings, its weaknesses, its shortcomings. Yes, if it does something right, fine. But you will find that in our history, no administration has ever admitted doing anything wrong. They always say, what we did was right. And then you come to find out later on, after checking the evidence, what they did was contrary. So in the case with the competent authority, we sat back as a nation and allowed that particular personality to do and act as he pleased. That's very detrimental to the democracy in our country. We cannot afford to let that happen again. And even now today, those who are running the national affairs of this country, we are going to have to check up on them as well. You don't go to sleep because you elect some people to run your national affairs. You have to be on par and you have to understand what is going on. You know, a lot of things have been signed which we know nothing about. These things ought to be made known to the Bahamian people. Now we're going to have to ask for them. Are we bold enough to ask for these agreements that have been signed? Or are we going to just sit back and say, oh, just let them deal with it? Then we go up another gum tree again. So it's the responsibility of the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to keep tabs on elected personalities and appointed personalities who are involved in doing the business of the Bahamian people. This is why you got Article 24.1 in your Constitution. That very last phrase in Article 24.1, for the protection of the interests of the Bahamian people. But we haven't been doing it. But now we could correct that and start doing it as of today, February the 5th, 2024. And not sit back and just complain privately, but be prepared to stand up. That's why I keep saying to people, we are not constitutionally organized on the ground in these constituencies, in these communities.
We actually have a caller on the line. So
okay,
let's go to the phone calls. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good. As relates to the last emergency where we had the competent authority, whether you want to call them incompetent or competent, it was more than, while he was the head of that position, it was more than him that made those decisions, and those decisions, while they may have violated some of our rights and all that stuff, it served the purpose that it was intended to do, for the betterment of the majority of the Bahamian people.
How so, caller? Explain that, please. Because you're throwing out these statements. Explain how that works, please. Please.
How it works?
Especially explain what you mean by that, especially now knowing what we know, that many of the things what they enforced on us had no scientific basis whatsoever. So explain that comment to me, please.
Regardless if it has scientific base or not, we know that if a bunch of person was in in one area without protection, they would have passed the COVID from one person to the next. Whether it's scientific or not, it was reality.
No. How could you say if it's scientific or not, it's reality? No, sir. What protection are you talking about?
Are you suggesting that people did not catch it covered by being in proximity to each other?
You said protection. What protection are you talking about?
Yes, that's what I said. Because of, again, the proximity of people from each other protected a lot of persons from catching the COVID-19 virus.
Okay, so let me just say this. One of the things that, and I don't know if you've been following and we are off track now, but I don't know if you've been following the testimony that's been made by Fauci and others before the U.S. Congress in these latest hearings. Have you?
I follow some of it, but not much.
Okay. So one of the things that Fauci talked about, admitted, was that they had us standing 6 feet apart. He admitted that there was no scientific evidence that was going to protect you from anything. He also admitted that the masks, what they had y'all wearing, breathing in your own carbon dioxide, wasn't stopping the transmission of anything. There were so many things that he has now admitted that were forced upon us that had no scientific basis whatsoever to protect you from COVID. There were people who had a healthy immune system, who were in the vicinity of other people who had COVID and did not get COVID. What people seem to miss was that it had more to do with the strength and the health of your immune system than anything else. So while they had us standing apart, 6 feet apart like a bunch of idiots, you got to be home by 8 o'clock as if COVID had stopped traveling at 8 o'clock at night. All of it was not based on science. So you can't say it was reality or fact. If the science dictated that what they had us doing wasn't stopping the transmission, what sense did it make?
No, it doesn't have to be based on science, but again, if it's for the protection of
we are talking about something that is based on science.
A war, right? We don't judge a war based on scientific evidence. We base the war based on reality.
Caller, are you absolutely serious right now? You really serious right now? You really serious with what you just said?
Huh?
Do you, I'm not trying to be rude, but do you hear how ignorant you sound right now? We are talking about a virus.
I mean, it's the reality.
We're talking about a virus. So if science is the reality with a virus, what is? Caller, you ain't making no sense.
But I know a person who catch a virus based on being around a person who, and then I know a person who did not catch it based on being around. So how can we say it's not scientific or not?
You saying it is scientific. I am saying it is. The whole point is the person who did.
I'm talking about the reality versus scientific evidence.
Oh my God, caller, you are not making any sense. Listen.
But I don't want to. I just want to deal with the authority that the person have, whether it's the cabinet or whether it's anybody. They have the right, if it will cause for the protection and the betterment of the majority, to establish an emergency order for the good governance of our country.
Nobody is disputing that. Nobody.
And during the COVID-19, that was done, and that was done for the betterment of the majority of the people.
I'm sorry, I disagree, because as we have
and it didn't happen in the Bahamas, it's happened around the world.
It has now.
Usually the Bahamas had these stringent measurements in place.
Caller, you have a good day, because you clearly ain't listening. You ain't listening, and you don't want to hear the truth for whatever reason. Nobody is sitting here today saying that certain decisions do not have to be made under an emergency situation. That's the whole point of this area of the Constitution that we're talking about right now. But when you're going to be making decisions that are going to close down businesses, cost people their jobs, and then come to find out when you're talking about a virus, which clearly has to do with science. So I don't understand how you can come here and say science ain't got nothing to do with reality. That's an asinine statement. We're not talking about war. We are talking about a virus.
And it has been revealed that many of the things that they forced on the global populace had nothing to do with stopping the transmission of a virus. My question was always from the very beginning, because one of the things that they lied to us and said was, oh, there's no such thing as natural immunity. How stupid can you be? So if that were the case, how is it that people survived COVID before a vaccine became available if there's no such thing as natural immunity? Listen, man, if you can call here, listen, everybody's welcome to call, but don't call here trying to defend, because this is how I interpret this, defend whoever your political affiliation is, and you ain't making no sense in the process of doing it. Because for you to sit here and say, science ain't got nothing to do with a virus, that's the most idiotic statement I've ever heard in my entire life. And I apologize to you if you take offense, but it is what it is. Come on, man. Talking foolishness. Much of what they forced on the world, they are now admitting, had no scientific basis whatsoever, wasn't stopping transmission or nothing. So don't come on here trying to water down what is truth. That's how we get that problem in the first place. So y'all causing me run out on this show.
But Ms. Malcolm, let me make a comment here.
Go ahead, then we gotta take a quick break. Go ahead, Professor.
The thing is that this is why you have to watch the people who you give authority to. You cannot accept one single thing from them. You have to prove everything. Every time when I hear anyone in government speak, I ask myself one simple question. Is it constitutionally sound? Yes or no? If it isn't, it's contrary to law. Just as simple as that. You can't just accept any and everything. When a person says, I'm doing it in your best interest, it's not so. You see the results that occur. Everybody comes up. The government always says, we did nothing wrong. What do you mean you did nothing wrong? You're not perfect. But you're making a whole bunch of errors and mistakes to the detriment of the Bahamian people. And you're still talking nonsense about you did nothing wrong. And all available evidence shows that the authorities have been misleading and deceiving the Bahamian people.
And this is what is that the evidence is now being presented and people still got their head in the sand.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
There's going to be much more coming up in the future. Much more.
God. Anyhow, we got to take a break, Professor.
Yes, ma'am.
We way past our break time. Let's take this break. When we continue, we're going to continue our exploration of the Constitution of the Bahamas, which ain't got to do with science. It just got to do with common sense. Let me behave myself. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. Stay with us.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, paint, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Trackline, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
We are back. Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here in your company on this rainy but still beautiful Monday afternoon, where we're looking at the Constitution of the Bahamas with Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. The telephone numbers to call: 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line for messages and calls is 8010271. That's 8010271. We're streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. Please like and share the show if you haven't already done so. Also coming to you live on rumble.com. Look for Global Paradigm Shift. All one word, no spaces in between. We're on Cable Bahamas, channel 974, and we're inviting you to download the Global 99.5 FM app to your smart device so you can carry us with you 24/7. Last but not least, welcome to all of you who are tuned in by way of radio, whether it is from New Providence, Grand Bahama, throughout the family of islands, and around the world. A huge welcome to you all, and thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon. I want to read a comment from one of our WhatsApp audience members. It says, "One must be mad to want any government to trample on their constitutional rights to maintain law and order. Once power is given, it's hard to let go. Never forget the law is for the lawless. Let the authorities deal with the lawless and not disrupt the lives of ordinary citizens." Professor, may God give you strength to continue as a WhatsApp message that we received.
Ms. Malcolm, let me just comment on that. I think that is an interesting comment from the WhatsApp person.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that I don't believe Bahamians fully understand the importance of the Constitution. This is a problem I've had to struggle with for 50 years, because I said it took 50 years for the Bahamians to finally wake up that they have a constitution when the Queen died. That's when that interest really went up high. And it's been so from that point right on up to now. The point is that they don't understand the full impact of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And so people have been making all kinds of strange statements on the airwaves. They want the government to get crime under control. To them, it doesn't matter whether the government does this, the government does that. And you're going to find that when you're so loose with your tongue and your behavior, you sow the seeds for your constitution to be overthrown. Bahamians, we just can't afford that. We have so many bad examples around the world. Sudan is one. Haiti is one. and you see the problems they have in the Gaza Strip. Do not allow problems that we have in this country to get you to the point where you say you're prepared to throw in everything for some political personalities to exercise enormous power.
Serious thing.
In this country.
We have a call on the line. We have a call on the line, Professor. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good day, Miss Malcolm.
Hi.
Good day, Mr. Professor.
Yeah, good day.
I ain't talking in a long time. This is Ken Alana from Freeport.
Yes, sir.
Now, this for you, Professor. This for us. Last night I was listening to ROD Joe Park 6:10 a.m. I'm an young brain. I've been doing it all my life. So they got this new variant coming in now. This is where the Constitution supposed to come in now. They got this new variant. It's not COVID, but it's a stronger variant come out. What they trying to bring forth? Dr. Fauci and all them. So now they got the countries all over signing this treaty. Right now, as we talk, they sign this treaty to accept these disease they made. So when they made the disease, that the country already be aligning and follow suit and all that there. So now they doing these treaties all over the country, all over the world, and for this new variant coming in. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Mr. Thompson, and do our Constitution go allow it to happen again? All the knowledge that we know now, like Miss Malcolm said, like you said, like we have to pray for the guy who called and all that there. I think that was political. But anyway, what our government gonna do this time when this come again? Because we already knowledge about what they're doing. So they're gonna follow suit or they're gonna break.
Caller, you asked a very interesting question, and I'm going to answer it constitutionally. Article 2 of your Constitution. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas is the supreme law of the land. Any other law, I don't care where it comes from, that is inconsistent with this Constitution shall prevail, and the other law, to the extent of its inconsistency, shall be void.
Okay, Dr. Thompson, and all that is true what you're saying, but our Constitution broke down when COVID came. We broke down. We collapsed.
Hold on. No. The Constitution was never broken down.
No, we didn't use it. We didn't go by it. We didn't stand by it. Sorry. So when this new land coming and the treaty signed, what's gonna happen to our Constitution? Is they gonna? I repeat myself. So that's what I'm saying. Let me say one more thing to you and Miss Malcolm. You see, Dr. Thompson, Mr. Thompson, when you intelligent like me, you get overshadowed by lies and by insult, by all these things. And I don't have to toot my horn in the Bahamas, but I so knowledgeable, but it's hidden by hate and jealousy. Y'all have a good day. Love y'all.
All right, thanks for calling. Go ahead, Professor.
Let me just say this. Mm-hmm. The thing is that we, as citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, we cannot sit back. We saw what happened in the past. Let us learn from that. Let us learn from that particular personality who was the competent authority at that time. You have to keep tabs on the elected personalities and the appointed personalities who are responsible for running our national interests. If you don't do that and allow them to do any and everything, we're asking for trouble. And you're going to find that if you keep sitting back, you say nothing, you do nothing, and the police just tell you if you see something, say something. They tell you that all the time. The point is we have to watch the government of the Bahamas, what they do, and we have to line it up and see whether they're constitutionally sound, yes or no. See, a person like me, I always ask the question now. I don't accept nothing what they say. Absolutely nothing. Is it constitutionally sound? Yes or no? That's what I ask myself. And so we have to be knowledgeable about the Constitution so we can be able to act accordingly.
You know, I'm glad we're doing these shows, Professor, to give people knowledge.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, but some people, I mean, if you're going to allow politics to take away your rights,
Yes.
just for the sake of politics, my God. I mean, you know, the caller said, well, you know, they made a decision for the protection because it's known that when people gather in numbers, the thing
Yeah,
spread.
that's nonsense.
Well, if that is the case, why did the competent authority call an election in the middle of one of the biggest waves of that virus? Call an election, all kind of campaigning and thing going on, and so all of a sudden it wasn't a threat.
It wasn't a threat then.
It wasn't a threat then. We gotta stop. We gotta stop the political foolishness in this country, man. Stop. My God. I think we have another call on the line. Let me double check. Yes, caller, welcome to GPS.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Girl, I like when you go hug, girl. You're hug all the way today.
Oh man, I tried hard to be nice, you know, but I just don't like foolishness, man.
Michelle, you made me laugh all weekend in a statement you made last week. You said that those callers are talking like a nigger who was on his way to jail. Boy, that made me laugh all over the weekend. But I'm happy you and you're doing a wonderful job, you and Professor Sidney. And thank you all for all of the great information that you all are sharing about the Constitution. And we all are learning so much from you all. Okay, and this is why you're the best talk show host on this country.
Why,
okay,
you.
There's none like you because you can be the Hulk when you're ready. You can be eloquent when you're ready. you can play, and then you're street smart, very street smart. Most of the talk show hosts don't have those sides that you have. And that's what makes you the best talk show host in this country.
I appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Sidney.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
How are you?
No, I'm doing quite well. Thank you.
This is your boy, man. JP Association. Take my number down and call me after the show.
Give it to the producer, okay? Give your number to the producer.
Okay. I'm right here listening, Michelle. Y'all continue to do a great work, okay?
Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for your
Michelle,
support.
one more thing. Why these Haitians do they try to book on your show?
Who are you talking about?
Louis Georges and them. Do they ask for booking on your show?
They ain't got to ask. I keep inviting Louis. Louis wouldn't come. So, you know, that's the end of that. I've invited him multiple times and he refuses to come.
Too. I know times you get you with him, you tear him apart.
No, it ain't tearing apart. It's just asking questions what everybody want to know the answers to. Now, if he don't want, I guess he know why he wouldn't come because, you know, he just wouldn't come.
Michelle, you'll go Hulk on him, man. We looking for you to go Hulk.
It ain't about going Hulk, man. I just trying to get to the truth for my audience because I know everybody has all these questions to ask, and I think that's as long as I'm sitting in this seat, that's my job to ask the questions which you all want answered.
Yes, and that's why the Bahamian people, you might not know, the Bahamian people love you, man. They love you and sister.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. Okay.
I would give my number to the producer.
Yeah, give it to him, and he'll get it to Mr. Thompson. All right, Professor. Boy, I apologize for letting the show go left. We're supposed to be talking about the Constitution, and we end up talking. Well, I mean, it's still relevant to the area that we're discussing today.
No, but it is.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Where are we now? We are on 19. Did you have anything else to say on the last one, or should we go forward?
18C, I think we went.
18C?
Yeah. We didn't get to D yet. No, remember now.
No, we were on D because D is what talks about Article 29. So yes, we
okay,
we just,
okay, all right. We
yeah,
could go for, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're done. Well, you did tell me to break down D quite a bit because it mentioned several things. So let me read D again. Any labor required during a period of public emergency, that is to say, a period to which. Oh, I know what happened. You told me to stop on Article 29 because that was pretty long, and you said that we should section that off.
You just read the beginning of the article, which
of 29. Yeah.
29. The emergency powers in terms.
Should we go further on 29 or no?
No, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Because basically, I wanted you to just captivate what was mentioned at the beginning of Article 29.
Gotcha.
1, the country is at war. 2, state of emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we were not at war, but a state of emergency was declared.
Okay.
And of course, the Governor General is involved in that, putting the proclamation out there.
Okay.
I don't think we have to go any further into that because, I know it's a lengthy article and we're not into that right now, but it just referred to it in terms of forced labor. Okay? Because sometimes in the event of an emergency, and this Constitution article right here, 18, speaks about any other emergency. It may not be a state of emergency, but it could be some other kind of emergency.
Okay.
Where there's no proclamation being made. People need to understand that as well. Something can develop in a given community, which may require the attention of the authorities to move very quickly and bring it under control.
Okay.
So that would not necessarily qualify as a state of emergency. State of emergency is very serious.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So tell you what, at 3:27, let's take a break. And then when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to see how far we can get in Article 19. And I doubt that we'll be able to get through the whole thing in the half hour before the show ends, because Article 19 is kind of long. But we'll see how far we can get in Article 19 on the other side of the break. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Stay with us. We'll be back with more GPS on the other side.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
One of the things I love about the mailboat is their relationship with Bahamas Air. I can earn travel points on my international freight and redeem them when I fly.
For me, online shopping is easy with Mailboat's U.S. addresses and regular freight delivery to Nassau. Plus, I can always prepay customs and freight, and they always notify me when my package arrives.
Yeah, a lot of people think the Mailboat is just for shipping, but they also offer a safe and secure storage facility at affordable rates, all in a central, convenient location.
We also offer passenger service into Freeport multiple times per week with a seating capacity of over 450 persons. With family movies on large screens, one hot meal included, and on-board lounge for snacks and soft drinks. We're the Mailboat. We're bridging people, products, and places.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here, along with my guest, Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson, as on this Masterclass Monday, we examine once again the Constitution of the Bahamas. We are streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. Please like and share the show if you haven't already done so. Also coming to you live on rumble.com. Look for Global Paradigm Shift, all one word, no spaces in between. You can call us on 326-0271, 326-0271, 326-0272, 326-0272. The WhatsApp line for messages and calls is 801-0271. You can find us on Cable Bahamas Channel 974, and you can also download the Global 99.5 FM app to your smart device and carry us with you that way 24/7. Welcome to all of you tuned in by way of radio, whether it is from here in New Providence, Grand Bahama, around the country, or across the world. Thank you so much for tuning in on this wet, overcast Masterclass Monday. I just heard some thunder rumbling in the background. So for those of you who are not in New Providence, excuse us, but the weather's not the greatest out there, and you may hear a little thunder from time to time. Okay, Professor, we're back, and we're talking again about the Constitution of the Bahamas. Right now, we're going to move our attention to Article 19 of the Constitution, and 19.1 says, "No person shall be deprived of his personal liberty, save as may be authorized by law in any of the following cases. A, in execution of the sentence or order of a court, whether established for the Bahamas or some other country, in respect of a criminal offense of which he has been convicted, or in consequence of his unfitness to plead to a criminal charge, or an execution of the order of a court on the grounds of his contempt of that court or of another court or tribunal."
Yes. Now, it says a lot right in there, because it could be a court outside of the Bahamas or a court established in the Bahamas. And it has to do with the personal liberty of the particular individual concerned. One has to exercise caution and restraint when it comes to the personal liberties of the individual. And so it can only be deprived under some very specific circumstances. And in this particular case, a criminal offense would have been committed. And it was determined by a court established in the Bahamas or a court outside of the Bahamas. One can be deprived of that personal liberty, his freedom to move freely throughout the country. And I think people need to understand that when you're involved in these kinds of situations, as we saw earlier in the Constitution, that there will be curtailment of your personal liberties and freedoms. They just don't remain open just like that while you're doing foolishness and nonsense. It just doesn't work that way.
That's how it's supposed to be, Professor. That's how it's supposed to be. But when these fellas getting all kind of bail and then taking off the thing off the leg to go do foolishness, you know, clearly we ain't living up to the ideals of our Constitution.
No, we're not. That is correct. I agree with you. And then what it does, it puts the country in danger. It puts other citizens in danger. And we have seen the evidence where persons have been murdered. Innocent people have died. For example, I remember the incident where a woman came out of the church to go get her mass. And before she could get back into the church for the prayer service, she was shot. Because some person out there firing guns and caused the death of this particular individual. Then you could even be in your house. Like we know of one particular person who was in the house. In fact, I remember an incident that happened twice with a young man and a young lady in two separate instances where they were shot to death right in their homes. Bullet come through the door, come through the window, because people behaving in this way. So these criminal activities have to be taken very, very seriously for the protection of the citizenry of the country. Because the personal liberty of one particular individual cannot supersede the interests of the majority of the people. And that is a problem we have in our country. And I think too many instances have occurred where there has to be some changes being made to protect the interests of the citizenry against those persons who are criminally minded and don't want to do any better. They're a danger to the society. So these liberties have to be deprived. It's the right thing to do, to deprive them of that liberty in the case of criminal activity being committed. So if we let them walk loose and carry on, then we have one incident after another, and innocent people have died and continue to die. That's not right.
Let me ask you something, Professor, because in light of the amendment to the Bail Act that the Prime Minister is now championing, lawyers are saying that that is unconstitutional and that for that reason, it may not be able to stand, that judges will have the right to not follow it because it's unconstitutional. So how does what they're saying match up against what we just read?
I am glad you said that, because, the particular personalities, I'll put it this way, they have a right to express their view, but the court when it makes a judgment, ought to be constitutionally sound. Now, that doesn't happen in every case. So you're going to find that there are people out there who have their own personal interests that they want to protect to the detriment of the interests of the nation. That's unfortunate, but you have those kind of people around. It is important, therefore, that, the government is going to go ahead and put some required amendments to the Bail Act, which they feel is necessary. And it may be tested, yes. Is it constitutionally sound, yes or no? We have to look at the Constitution and see what the Constitution says now. And so some may have a view that these amendments to the Bail Act are not constitutionally sound. It would be contrary to the Constitution. I have to check further into it because I'm in the process of looking at some of these things that the government has said they're going to change. But the Constitution has not changed in 50 years, except maybe with the Office of Attorney General, where they created a nice fancy position for someone to make some money. And I heard people say, and I've heard the Minister of National Security on the radio talking about the independency of the Director of Public Prosecution. If you check the article on the Attorney General's office, you're going to see very clearly, as is stated in the Supreme Law, and this didn't have to come to the people. This is something that the House of Assembly and the Senate did and sent it on to the Governor General. The word independent does not even appear in the document, does not appear in the article relating to the Office of Attorney General. It just says the Director of Public Prosecutions. And the article says very clearly, one, if the Attorney General asks the Director of Public Prosecution, gives him an oral, that is verbal, or written instruction, he has to obey it. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Check the Constitution and see it for yourself. That's what I say to people all the time. I've been hearing about this so-called independency of the Director of Public Prosecutions. No such thing in the Constitution. I even heard them say it when they were debating it. And the word kept coming up over and over and over again. When you read the article, you will see that the word independence doesn't even appear in it. And so these are the kind of misinformation that you see given out to the public. And that's why I am saying that we need to be in a position to challenge what is being said, because we're living in very serious and very dangerous times. People have their own personal agendas, and they will use their personal agendas to the detriment of the interests of the people of the country. That's unfortunate, but that's the harsh reality we're living in. Now, the Bahamian people have to rise up and protect their interests. We have not been doing that for the last 50 years. That's why we're in the predicament we're in today. Because we have not taken an active interest in what the Constitution says. We have allowed others who have their own personal interests. That personal interest supersedes the national interest of the Bahamian people. That's not constitutional at all. But we can correct it as of today, February 5th, 2024.
Interesting. Okay, so let's look now at, let's see, 342. Yeah, let's look at 13B. I'm
Yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
19B.
19B, yes.
19.1b. So again, 19.1 says, no person shall be deprived of his personal liberty save as may be authorized by law in any of the following cases. So B, in execution of the order of a court made in order to secure the fulfillment of any obligation imposed upon him by law.
By all means, yes. You have to deprive him of his personal liberty under such circumstances. That would be just and fair. See, what people need to understand with these freedoms. The freedoms cannot supersede the interests of the nation or the majority of the people in the country. So you got to have some impositions. You have to have some curtailment of those liberties. You cannot just have people walking around doing and acting as they please to the detriment, and some people have died in this country. And I feel bad about that. Where innocent people have died because of the foolishness that has been allowed to happen with persons who are criminally minded. So there has to be curtailment, there has to be impositions by the court to protect us who are law-abiding citizens. That's very, very important. So while, yes, a person may be said to be innocent until proven guilty, I can understand that to a point. But then if you're going to allow accused personalities to be running loose. And also we have hardcore evidence that criminal activity has been committed by such individuals. Maybe not all of them, but too many of them. Because the Prime Minister keeps saying, one life lost is too many. But we then got 23 plus for the year. So when we can stop this foolishness and this nonsense? Are we going to continue in the same trend that we are going now, instead of making certain changes to what we have now for the best interest of the Bahamian people? That is what the authorities ought to be doing.
Okay, let's move on to 19(1)(c).
Yes, ma'am.
No person shall be deprived of his personal liberty save as may be authorized by law in any of the following cases. C, for the purpose of bringing him before a court in execution of the court order.
Yes. Because he'd have to be arrested.
Right, that one seems pretty straightforward.
But I hope it is. I hope the Bahamian people understand that. Because you see, even at that point, Miss Malcolm, you still have people who will argue, and they have a right to argue. I'm not knocking that. But you lose so much valuable time. And some people are not willing to admit when they are wrong. They're not willing to admit, yes, the person made an error or a mistake, and you ought to be. In fact, people should be willing to cooperate. And if they are not guilty, well, then fine. You move on. But certain things have to be done in order to protect the interests of the masses of the people. Otherwise, we have chaos.
Okay, let's do one more before we take the next break. Upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed or of being about to commit a criminal offense.
That is where the police come into play.
Mm-hmm.
About to commit, 1. Reasonable suspicion, 2. A person could be taken into custody and arrested, brought before the court. Because see, you have to allow the police to perform, and I think the police are trying under very difficult circumstances in trying to keep the peace in the country. It's not easy. I have relatives who are on the police force, and I wouldn't want to see anything happen to them. But the point is, we have a situation where a police officer leaves his house. He's not sure whether he's coming back to see his wife and his children. He's not sure about that. You do not know what you're going to encounter. And I say this to people all the time. You don't know. You leave your house. You don't know what you're going to encounter. Even those of us who are like in broadcasting, we don't know what we're going to be confronted with at any given time. Somebody may not like what was said by you. You don't know what they're up to. And so we have to exercise caution and restraint under those circumstances. So reasonable suspicion, yes. A person is about to commit a criminal offense, yes. I'm very rigid when it comes to the Constitution, because the Constitution is for the purpose of protecting the interests of the people, the majority as well as the minority. That's barely spelled out in the Constitution. So the Constitution has to balance that with the majority as well as the minority.
Okay. All right. Let's take this break, final break of the show. And then on the other side of the break, we'll see how far we can get in Article 19 of the Constitution of the Bahamas. We may not be able to finish all of it in today's show, but we'll see how far we can go after this commercial break. Stay with us.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Blood sugar levels play a key role in your appetite, weight gain, and overall health. When you have a blood sugar spike, you can feel confused, dizzy, and even have increased cravings. Eating carbohydrates, sugary or fatty foods, and not exercising can all cause blood sugar spikes. But now you have help in managing blood sugar levels. Sweeties by Youngevity was designed to help support healthy blood sugar levels, so you can power through your day. It's a synergistic blend of minerals, herbs, and nutrients that have been proven to support healthy blood sugar levels. Sweeties includes chromium, an essential trace mineral that's known for its contribution to healthy blood sugar levels and improved metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Cinnamon bark has been included for its naturally occurring antioxidants and support of a healthy heart. And we've even added gymnema. It's been used in Ayurveda for centuries to help promote healthy blood sugar. All the ingredients in Sweeties work together to give the best support available for blood sugar control. Sweeties, the blood sugar support supplement from Youngevity that helps control cravings and manage blood sugar levels through your day. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Even everyday exercise can lead to wear and tear on your body. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
$99.5.
All right, welcome back. We are on Article 19 of the Constitution of the Bahamas with Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. And Article 19, again, 1 says, no person shall be deprived of his personal liberty save as may be authorized by law in any of the following cases. So if we scroll down to D, it says, upon reasonable, no, we just did that. I'm sorry, E, yeah, we just did that. E, and this is an interesting one. In the case of a person who has not attained the age of 18 years for the purpose of his education or welfare.
That's an interesting one. And in fact, unfortunately, we have people under the age of 18 who are committing some very serious criminal acts in this country.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have to look at that very, very seriously. And we still have a system where, persons who commit crimes, adult crimes, under the age of 18 are still treated. They're not charged as adults. We may want to look at that as we move forward, because
But this is speaking specifically about education or welfare.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand. But remember now, yes, a person may be in a particular position where their education is on the line or welfare situations may develop. Yes, I'm not knocking that at all.
So when we're talking about education, is that to say, I don't know if you could call this being detained, but if you're under 18, if they say you got to go to school, you got to go to school. Is that what that's talking about?
Not necessarily, no, because see, what we have is, we have a situation now where these individuals now are very bold, and some people will try to make an excuse. Remember now, we're dealing with the personal liberties of the person, yes, but then at the same time, you have criminal activity being involved in it.
So in other words,
if somebody who is underage is found to be committing a crime, you could restrict their movement, particularly as it relates to them still receiving an education. I'm trying to understand this.
No, I understand what you're saying, Ms. Malcolm. It's a balancing act that we have to deal with, and the Constitution is trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give consideration to people who are under the age of 18. No
Right.
problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have a situation where that particular person, we have a situation where a particular person at the age of 16 on bail for 4 murders. What you
Right.
going to do with that? See, these are the kind of situations that you have in your country. And I'm not saying you want to deprive anyone of his personal liberties that he is legally, according to law, entitled to.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have a situation where some criminal element is involved. So what are you going to do? A determination has to be made. Because when you violate the law, you know, there ought to be curtailment of your personal liberties.
Right.
You can't just jump up and say, well, he's free to go. I mean, what are we saying? See, there has to be a balancing act, because right now we are finding out that the criminal element among our younger population is very, very serious. Fellas in their late teens, early 20s. I mean, when is it going to stop? So it's something we have to look at. And I believe there has to be discussion by the Bahamian people as to where we want to go. See, the problem in our country is this. We have allowed things to happen. And now we are at a critical stage. Yes, people have a right to their personal liberties and their freedoms. I'm not knocking that at all. But you also have a situation that is unnerving, not normal. So what are you going to do? That another one just got killed this morning.
Yeah.
What are we going to do, Ms. Malcolm? You want emergency powers, Article 29, to kick in?
Well,
no, but I'm trying to get the Bahamian people to understand. Listen, the rights of the individual freedoms, rights, freedoms, and privileges of the individual, fine, no problem with that. But you have some unusual situations that are occurring in this country now that we have to seriously consider, that we have to take some course of action that would be in the best interest of the Bahamian people. We just can't allow people to flagrantly violate the law, and then the fella's going to say, I have my personal liberties, rights, and freedoms. Without being curtailed, without being imposed, no imposition of any kind. Oh, he could still go to school. He got 4 murders on him. Huh?
I understand.
No, but these are very serious times in which we live. I heard someone say on the air, he doesn't matter what the government may do, just bring this crime under control. I can understand the frustration that people may have. But the point is, you don't want a situation where, one, you have a police state, and number two, you have a government that runs amok on the Constitution. Remember the clip you played at the beginning of the show?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you played that, because I think people need to be reminded that there must be controls in place. Otherwise, you're going to have chaos. You'll have another Haiti. You'll have another Sudan.
Exactly.
And all we have to do is look and see what's happening all around us. You think we're immune? Are we immune to these things that are happening out there? The answer is no.
Well, Professor, my time is gone. I want to thank you so much for being here today and
yes, ma'am.
Helping to shed some light on this. And God willing, I know you'll be back next week, Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
So, on behalf of the Bahamian people, I want to say thank you so much for
Thank you very much.
agreeing to do this every week. I really want to thank you because you're helping to shed light on something that has been in the shadows for far too long. So thank you so much,
Well,
Professor, and God willing, I'll see you next week, Monday, okay?
Next week. Thank you very much.
All right, that's my time, guys. It's 4 o'clock. Got to get out of here. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, y'all, don't miss tomorrow's show. We're going to have a senior officer from the Royal Bahamas Police Force on with us, and we're going to be talking about this crime situation. Oh, Lord, we got to do something to pull this thing back under control, if it ever was. But yeah, we got a problem. And we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. So don't miss tomorrow's show. Until then, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for tuning in. And have a great afternoon, everybody.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions